Hi, I'm Dan, and I'm here to explain how to play really loud Librarians. In this game, your team will shout out words that start with specific letters that fit into a category. Those first letters will change each time you correctly shout out an answer, and if your team comes up with more words than the other team, you'll earn points. The first team to get 12 points wins. First, flip all 3 plastic ring pieces so that the bridge between the small and large circles is at the top, and you can see the little arrow on the plastic. Next, take 2 of the pieces and place the small circle from one on top of the large circle of the other, and gently push until you hear a click. Then attach the third piece in the same way. Now you have a chain made up of 3 pieces. You'll notice one of the rings on the end is larger than the other, which we'll call the large circle. When you're ready to play, one of the librarian figures will gently click into the large circle of the chain. First, knock out the 2 black squares and the 2 gray squares from the punch board. Then, line up the slit in the 2 black squares and slide the pieces together to form an X. Do the same for the gray squares. These are your 2 score trackers. Split up into 2 teams, Team Gertrude Birdwhistle and Team Wilfred Dankworth. It's okay if one team has more players than the other. Place the board on the table, then put the chain on the board highlighting the E, L, S, and K. The large circle should highlight the E. Next, shuffle the cards. All of the cards have 4 numbers on them, so pick one of the numbers to use for the entire game, and place the deck with that number face down. Everything else should be set up like this. When you're ready, let's begin. Before we talk about taking your turn, we have to talk about shouting out words. Your team will get points by moving your librarian and the chain farther around the track than the other team. To do this, you have to shout out words. On your team's turn, your team's librarian will be in the large circle of the chain, and you will all be shouting out words that satisfy the category card and start with one of the letters highlighted in the 3 rings of the chain. Each time someone on your team shouts out a valid word, you get to move the chain counterclockwise around the track so that your librarian rests on the first letter of the word you just shouted, and 3 new letters are highlighted in the rings. That was a lot of words, so let's look at an example. Let's say the category card is office supplies, and the board looks like this. Your team has to shout out office supplies that begin with either W, C, or T. So if you shouted, calculator, that counts because it's an office supply item and starts with C. Now you would slide your librarian and the chain counterclockwise on the track until your librarian covers the letter C, which is the first letter of calculator. 3 new letters are highlighted by the rings of the chain, so you and your team would keep shouting out office supplies that start with one of those 3 letters. Every time you're successful, you get to move the chain again. Your goal is to move your librarian as far around the track as possible, so shouting out words that start with a letter farther along the chain is always an advantage. Your team only has 60 seconds, so shout as many words that fit the category and start with the highlighted letters before the timer runs out. At the beginning of each round, and before either team takes their turn, a single letter tile is chosen at random, turned over, and placed on the board next to its corresponding letter on the track. Letter tiles apply to both teams, and there's no limit to the number of times you can land on a letter tile. Why would you want to land on a letter tile? Well, because they will be worth extra points if you win the round. If you shout a word that begins with a letter that has a letter tile next to it, your team immediately collects a bonus token. If you win the round, those bonus tokens each add 1 point to your score. Each team can only collect up to 6 bonus tokens per round. A new letter tile is chosen and placed on the board at the beginning of each round, giving you more chances to earn bonus points. Letter tiles are not removed from the board until the end of the game. Now that you know the basics, let's start the actual game. Your table should look like this. To begin, put Gertrude into the large circle. For the first turn of the game, Gertrude will cover the letter E. The rings of the chain are now highlighting the letters L, S, and K. Flip over one random letter tile and place it on the dot next to the matching letter on the track. Flip over the top category card in the draw pile so everyone can see it, while the other team starts the timer. Everyone on Team Gertrude can shout out words to move the chain around the track until the timer ends. You will keep using the same category card for your entire turn. When the timer ends, take Gertrude out of the chain and put her on the side of the board next to the last letter Team Gertrude shouted correctly. This helps mark how far Team Gertrude moved the chain. For example, if the last word shouted was mint chocolate chip, set Gertrude next to the letter M. Discard your category card. Your turn is over. Now, it's Team Wilfred's turn. Move the chain around the track so that the large circle lines up with Wilfred's position next to the board. Then, put Wilfred into the large circle, so both teams begin their turn from the same position each round. Flip over the top category card in the draw pile so everyone can see it while the other team starts the timer. Just as before, everyone on Team Wilfred can shout out words to move the chain around the track until the timer ends. When time is up, discard your category card. Now that both teams have taken their turn, the round is over and the team that has moved the furthest around the board scores points. We'll talk about how many points in just a moment, but after handing out points, take Wilfred out of the chain. Leave the chain exactly where it is, because this will be the starting position for the next round. Put both librarians on the table next to the large circle. At the end of each round, meaning both teams have taken a turn, the team who traveled the furthest around the track wins the round. The winning team scores 1 point for winning the round, plus 1 extra point for each bonus token they have collected. Move your team's score marker along the score track according to the number of points you just scored. The losing team does not score any points, even if they collected bonus tokens. In the case of a tie, neither team scores. After each round, both teams return all bonus tokens to the table. Once either team gets 12 or more points, they win! That's it. Have fun.